Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Go ahead, Molly. Yeah, go ahead.
So I would like to talk on behalf of Inventor of Software and Business Method Patents. I would like to remember the proposal that we can create a Twitter of laws. In this moment, we have a governance problem in digital democracy. And considering that we started this year with Elon Musk and Trump Dodge department, I would like to evaluate a different proposal to scale with them. And on the other side, I think that, or I have been considering that it's very important to connect the inventors with environmental solutions. Right now, it seems that we are not able to pay the global debt because we don't have enough non-renewable resources. So there are very, very complex problems that we never faced in the history of humanity related with non-renewable resources. And I would like to evaluate how we can improve the connection and connect with the Federation of Inventors because we need to make a global impact in this field, particularly in both fields. What do you think about it?
Yeah, let's do this, Andre. Why don't you let's you and I talk at some point later in the week or early next week. Let's get in touch and let's talk. And because I know you're out there, you're what country are you in, by the way?
Colombia right now.
Okay, and let's talk. Definitely let's get in touch with each other.
Okay, great, great, thank you.
Molly,
Had his hand up, and then you guys had just posted something in the chat, a couple up, and Randy, maybe you could jump into this, but I have this fear that that bill is going to be reintroduced this year. I might have the wrong bill, but it's basically, I think it's the wrong bill, but getting rid of continuations, and I just thought that was synergistic with today's call. I know last year there was a push, and maybe there's a couple of you guys nodding on the squares right now. It just made me kind of remind myself that that's something that we need to keep our eyes on. And,
yeah, I mean, of course, think about it, guys. The big infringers, gosh, they hate the fact that you can use continuations to make it harder for them to take what you've invented. It's so crazy, guys. If once we succeed in making the system fair, probably half the lawsuits will go away because they'll just realize it doesn't make sense to just steal what you have because they have too much of a possibility of losing. And it's so crazy that I was talking to somebody today about just the money in government and these large corporations and how much influence they have. But again, we have a president now, and we have some people in place like the Secretary of Commerce and Director of the Patent Office, Acting Director, who are I'm telling you, they're on the right side of this issue, man. It's still a big fight, but things are moving the right direction. By the way, what Molly was referring to, if I'm not mistaken, that's Daryl Isa's bill, right? Daryl Isa,
which is so telling, right? He's going to put a bill out in regards to patent law. It's not going to be good.
Daryl Isa, who unfortunately is the chair of the IP subcommittee in the House, but he will be termed out at the end of this particular Congress. So starting in 2027, we will be able to not have Daryl Isa as the chair of the IP subcommittee. Maybe we'll have Thomas Massey. Who would that be? Right?
And it goes to say too, Randy, I know we're going to start these calls and calling, reps, and you guys being on those calls, you guys are so helpful and talk about continuations and how they've been helpful and how they actually help inventors, right, to help combat some of these bills and to stop them. And then one last thing, Randy, I asked if Michael would raise his hand because he attended an event. It sounds like there's some interesting things that he learned at it.
By the way, too, before I call on Michael, let me just say this. We're going to find out tomorrow at that conference what we may find out that they're introducing those two bills, right? Prevail and Para. They're reintroducing them. If they've changed, we'll see the wording. And if they're what we think they are, if they're the same bills they had last year, we're going to be all in, getting to everybody in Congress, all the senators, all the reps, to make our voices heard. In which case, we will in fact, Molly, I want to hold off on us sending out our follow-up to this call until we know Because if we know tomorrow that we got to start fighting, we'll let all you guys know. Go ahead and try to get a meeting with your rep and your senator. And if you get a meeting set, a Zoom meeting set, we will actually find other constituents from in your district or your state to be part of that call, and it'll make a big difference, right? We'll do that across the country, and we may start tomorrow, depending on what they announce. So thank you for your help with that.
And
so
real
Michael,
quick, Randy, before we go to Michael, would you say or agree that we're going to start with the members that are in the judiciary? So if somebody doesn't feel like
here's
we're going to do everyone.
We're going to do everyone. A lot of the nerds going in DC is with the judiciary. Jurisdiction. Lobbying the biggest by the big guns, bring the big wallets, donations, big lobbyists, all that stuff. Now we're in there as well, but if you can get the majority of the people of the rank and file members on your side, they can't pass a bill. In fact, you get enough. That's what we've been able to do over the years. I don't know if you guys, a lot of you guys know this. There was a bill that got introduced 2 years after the American Invents Act. Only 2 years after this huge loss we had that the American Invents Act got passed that created the PTAB. 2 years later, they had a bill called the Innovation Act. Honestly, it was probably worse. And it was big tech, and they pushed it like crazy, and they thought for sure they were going to roll over us, steamroll us, and win. And you know what? We went to so many offices that they couldn't get it passed. They couldn't pass it. And it's only because of all you guys and all of our members all over the country and all of our action to inform everybody. And it wasn't it passed the Judiciary Committee, passed the damn committee, but there were enough members out there that said, no, I'm not going to go for this. So again, we definitely concentrate on judiciary where we can, but if your member isn't judiciary, fine. Whoever your rep and your senators are, they need to be on our side because they're part of who will decide when it comes to an actual vote. And also, they can't take the Judiciary Committee if enough people aren't behind it. So that's the answer for that. So Michael, go ahead.
So I saw a posting on LinkedIn the other day that was posted, I think, by Julie Burke, who I think is a member from this group, and she used to work for the PTAB or USPTO. But there was an event that she was going to be a speaker on, and I think Julie is clearly on the side of the small inventor and on our team. But most of the people that were on the panel were from the other team, and Julie was really wonderful to questions that were asked to her and then tactfully respond to them in a way that helped them to see the position of the small inventor. And I'll tell you, there was another event that I'll tie the two together in a second, but I live in Georgia. There was another event that is the Georgia IP Alliance, I guess, GIP. There's different state organizations that are like this. And they had a roundtable session that each was going to be presenting at. So I went down to the event. I'm sitting at the AT&T table. Here are the presenter. And it was an entire room of attorneys that are practicing USPTO patent work, but they are corporate attorneys. And they are completely on the other side of this issue. And when you have that behind the scenes, I'm behind the fence line and kind of listening. I did a lot more listening than talking. And what I found was that they are scared to death of AI.
Interesting.
The patent attorneys that have been billing thousands of dollars an hour to be able to put together thoughtful pieces that have reference material that are now seeing that AI can pull that together in a report and then have it so they don't know if there's a future in the industry for them as attorneys. And I think while I was sitting there, we've been vulnerable to this patent troll thing. I think if we got Michael Kinder able to put together one of his wonderful things that AI is destroying these patent attorneys because what their role has been protecting the their force field is gone, and it's not here with the new administration, and they're looking for where their next path is going to be. I just thought it was interesting that I was in two different events that both of them basically expressed the same exact problem of this new advance in AI is very scary to Julie's group that she was talking to of attorneys as well as the GIPA.
And it's interesting. I'm kind of sitting here thinking strategically, could we get all those big attorneys to help us fix the system if we could somehow also get AI out of the picture? But good luck with that, huh?
Well, there is interesting legislation, right, where that they've tried to get ahead in the patent office on how AI can generate, so they're trying to block at the moment. Something there, right? Because it's open, scaring these folks to death. And these weren't just little folks; these are people that have spent their career in IT that are trying to figure out now what they're going to do because what they've been doing isn't going to work.
Interesting. Very interesting. Well, thanks for that. The famous Joe DeBells is actually spoken with Trump and Trump.
Yeah. I don't know how far that went, but can you hear me okay? Hi, Randy.
Yeah.
I just wanted to touch base a little bit, and just a quick comment with respect to what Michael just said. You know, I'm just to refresh you a little bit about my case. I'm simultaneously, and it would have been nice for that FinTIF case to have come out just maybe even a few months sooner, because I'm in Delaware with Oracle, pro se, and in San Francisco, pro se against Salesforce. And I got an IPR filed by Oracle, which I would think that under those circumstances, that's the perfect case for, to have a discretionary,
discretionary denial. Yeah.
Denial. But
is it too late? But it's too late for you because it's already been instituted, right?
Not only has it already been instituted, I did it 4 weeks ago. I was in front. I'm sorry.
You've already done the case is done. Okay.
Yeah, I represented myself pro se, and the best way I can describe it is that I inartfully told the truth. And I know that I just was reading today that Judge Gorsuch took exception to a attorney characterizing the plaintiff as lying, but let's just say that the Oracle attorney very skillfully lied. I mean, there's no other way of putting it, and it was difficult because what essentially just in a nutshell, what happened was that I was scheduled along with my witness to give deposition, and less than 24 hours before the deposition, they canceled, and then in front of the hearing, essentially said that I had done no work on. See, what happened is the best they could do was come up with a piece of art that was easy for me to swear before, because it was only 1 month before I had actually delivered a working copy of the software to my attorneys. So the argument would be that the reason why it would have been easy to swear before it was because how would I have a working copy of software after I had only hired a programmer a month, 4 weeks before, of a working embodiment in a month. So I had given them all this indications, and he put together this slideshow that intimated that essentially I was lying, and it was terrible. But again, the biggest difference is that I'm not an attorney, so it was very, very cumbersome. I guess I have two comments. Number one is, anybody have any advice or thoughts about anything to do between now and the next couple of weeks when they come out with their verdict in terms of when they come out, presuming that they didn't challenge all my claims, they challenged a good number of them, and what's the next step, especially as a pro se person? Any thoughts?
Yeah, attorneys out there, for
Yeah, exactly.
It just got instituted. I didn't understand that.
It was instituted right before the, and of course, you know, it was a cluster of pro se errors as well. I'll concede that because it was instituted. I was also simultaneously trying to get recognized from being a movement to pro se in San Francisco and trying to keep the case from being knocked out in Delaware. And I missed the deadline to supply my demonstratives, my slides. So I ended up having to just read off of their slides. And that was about 4 weeks ago. So I'm waiting to hear back on the judgment. I mean, I felt that my case was excellent in terms of, I mean, based on the facts, but it was limited by my ability to cogently and articulate it to 3 judges who were spent most of the time looking at their fingernails on Zoom call, you know?
Well, you know, Molly had one of the judges on the Zoom call had a barking dog in the background that kept taking his or her attention. How about that, huh? Your life's on the line and they got a barking dog.
I know. Absolutely.
Well, I think maybe the answer, unless someone chimes in here, so they're now deciding your case, and it's,
yes.
I think it's too late. I don't know there's anything you can do until you get the verdict, and then of course you can appeal. But realize too, you know, the director of the patent office, as a result of that bad Supreme Court decision, Arthrex, the director of the patent office can reverse any PTAB decision. So yes. Keep that in mind as well. And of course, we have an acting director now who seems to be looking pretty good on our stuff. So I would say keep that in mind, and you know,
and that would be a matter of writing a letter.
I don't even know how you go about it. You'd have to talk to an attorney. Do you know, yeah. Joel? I'll refer you to 1 or 2 people who might help you with that. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's how it works. Yeah, he writes a letter to Cook Stewart. She puts in her letter of whatever you call it, recommendation. You know, yeah.
Yeah. The only other thing I wanted to mention was about, because I had AI come up in my case, which I'm sure all of you who follow everything that's going on in patent law and the federal courts are familiar with Bill Ramey, and that's who unfortunately is the attorney who's as Randy, you know the story. So what happened was that just to touch on the AI comment, what happened was that during I got an opportunity to file a second motion to amend, but of course, because I wasn't recognized pro se in Delaware, Bill had to basically file it for me. And in filing it for me, in an effort to quote unquote help me, I have to remember he wants out of the case, he reformatted it and he misapplied some diagrams to references. So he said this is a formula that is used by Oracle. And in fact, it wasn't a formula that was used by Oracle. It wasn't even part of my submission. The long and the short of it is, when questioned about it in court, he told the judge, oh, I used AI for that. And the whole thing blew up into a huge kerfluffle. And the judges certainly don't look very, very favorably on it. The long and the short of it is that I ended up having to write an ex parte letter, because again, I wasn't recognized yet to the judge, because the opposing counsel then implied that all of my work was done by AI, which none of mine was. I did not use AI. He used AI for his little piece that he added to it, and they implied that at all. And I ended up having to write a letter, which I think fairly well received. We'll have to wait and see. But it's just.
We don't really need to get into too many weeds here, but I would say this guy, is his name Bill Ramey? Is that his name?
Yeah.
You know, we've had some other members who've had bad experiences with this attorney, so you guys might want to keep that in mind. The guy's name is Bill Ramey, and perhaps if you're ever thinking about working with him, I could refer you to some people that have worked with him. Right? And experience has not been good. So guys, you know, but Joe, as far as what you have to do now, I don't know. I would say I'll try to find someone I can refer to that might be able to give you a little bit of guidance.
He PTAB will find his patents patentable, and it will all be okay.
Yeah, maybe you'll win the
So
case.
we'll put out the good vibes that way.
Positive vibrations.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you're going pro se. I mean, golly, all that work. Hopefully, guys, none of you will have to fight your own case on your own without an attorney. Gee whiz. Anyway, but guys,
On each coast.
Yes, exactly.
but anyway,
Hey, Randy, I just went back and looked through something, and I just sent the link over to I think Molly. But there was a request for comment from the USPTO that was on this discretionary denial that I think I mentioned in a previous call, but I just sent to the US Inventor link on the call what the comment was that was sent, and I looked back at my communication to Kathy Vidal and to Director or to Derek Brent, the enforcement guy, where I was asking them as a micro inventor or micro entity patent owner, I requested that they preview a discretionary director denial of the PTAB back on August 2nd of 2024 and gave them my patent number and said that I would like to be able to address domestic infringers in article reports, but I would want to be tied up in the PTAB. And I got a response from her. Said, thank you for reaching out with ideas about USPTO procedures that might help inventors navigate the patent system. There are no USPTO procedures that would provide for preemptory discretionary denial. To the extent that your letter is asking USPTO to consider such a procedure, USPTO always welcomes feedback from stakeholders and will give consideration to your policy suggestion, just as we've given consideration to stakeholder input.
yeah.
So just wanted to share with you, there's been work that they've looked at this for, since August 2024.
Right. Well, you guys may not know this, but we have had lawsuits with the Patent Office, more than one, pushing them to do notice and comment rulemaking. So the rulemaking where they involve stakeholders, where they actually see what everybody wants and they actually make a rule, and it's next best thing to actual law. We've been pushing exactly what you're talking about, Michael, and perhaps you saw. Maybe you were forwarding what we were already forwarding or whatever. But the point is, we're getting closer to having that happen. You guys might recall a couple of weeks ago, I sent something out talking about how IP law published that they've reported that the Patent Office is intending to do notice and comment rulemaking. Now, nobody else said anything about it, but that came out of IP law, and they're very credible. And we're getting close to something very good happening. And I know some things behind the scenes. I can't say anything at this moment, but we're making serious headway. And of course, as an inventor, you definitely, like Molly said, you don't want to be forced into the PTAB. You want to have your day in an actual court, the jury, and that's what we're fighting for. So, guys, I want you all to be prepared to get active and to get after tomorrow. We may know right away tomorrow, or we may still have a few more days to know whether or not they're going to introduce those two bills in the same form they were before, which is not good enough for us. And if they do, we're going to jump in and really start fighting and get the word out. And we'll need you to all try to get meetings set with your representatives and your senators and let us know. That way we can get other constituents, because we have a big database. We have a lot more people on our database than the people who are here on our Zoom calls. And we can actually get very good meetings with constituents, and constituents mean everything to their lawmakers. So guys, get ready, be ready, and we're going to fight it. We will not ever give up on this. We will win this battle, and we've been at this for a long time, but man, we're closer than ever right now. So thank you for being a part of it. Really appreciate your help and your thoughts and your prayers and your intention to get this done. So thank you. And by the way, definitely tune in next week, because we're going to have Gordon Chang, who's famous. So guys, we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, see ya.
Well, finish.